attendees. The rest of you, feel free to plug in your motorcycle of choice. Mario's riding as BMW 1000.
Oh, okay.
Mine was a 1200. I had to go for the big cruiser, but that thing does get up to 145. I can validate that.
Yeah, I have 3 Ducatis now in my garage. So
and I'm pretty sure they can all hit 185, right?
Yeah, they're fast. 180 to 205 horsepower. They're pretty gnarly.
All right. Yeah. So today's topic, let's jump in, because with your background, it's good to get a little bit different take in the technology space, and you're the right person for this conversation. But first, you're in the Scottsdale area. What's going on coming into fall in Scottsdale? What are you hearing the agents talking about?
Yeah, I mean, just overall kind of market updates. And Sarah, this is the one thing Sarah contributed. She's really got her finger on the pulse of all the market stats that are happening. But inventory is slowly trending up. Everything's been really tight for a long time out here. Arizona is literally one of the hottest markets and still is right now. We're seeing that happening. But inventory is slowly starting to open up just a little bit. So that's kind of the really what I can share as it's happening right now.
And for those, Sarah Richardson is the CEO of True, and we'll have her on in November from a brokerage standpoint to talk about how brokerages can expand, how brokerages acquire agents. But today's talk, if you're just joining us, we're going to talk about tech enablement at a brokerage level, what it takes, why to do it, and where the main focus is. And Aaron, I've seen a shift, and not only in real estate, but folks, let me just ask you, how many of you in the last 30 days or 60 days ordered food to get delivered? Right? Whether you go to Grubhub, whether you're going Domino's, the user experience for us doing anything now, whether it's buying through Amazon or, ordering food, it all gives us a transparent view into what's going on during the process. And I know there's platforms like, Propy that brings everyone in to get that same experience, but you've seen it around not only with Propy, but with other technologies that you've seen implemented. But what's at True, you guys are very tech enabled, I know for sure, because I've been there. Yeah. Give us some of the things you're doing and why, as it relates to not only agent experience, but ultimately the consumer. Folks, I mean the buyer and the seller.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. From a brokerage level, we are always trying to attract agents, and to attract agents in this day and age, you also have to, we're not just a B2B company, we're also a B2C company, right? And the consumer experience is something that we care about deeply on a lot of levels, not just because we want to elevate what it is like as a consumer to go through a transaction. I mean, let's be honest, buying a home and selling a home isn't necessarily fun for the homeowner or the buyer, right? Like there's paperwork, there's like all this stuff that's going on top of the fact you have to live your life, drive your kids to school, go to work. And oh, by the way, I have to get this document over right away, right? Like, so it hasn't historically been an experience that people are like, man, I can't wait to buy my next house and go through all that, go through that 30, 60, 90-day process. So like we always want to not just optimize that experience, but more importantly, try to create some sort of delight and meaning behind the things that are happening. And technology is the bridge that takes that consumer and that delight. Like technology is kind of the link that binds those together. And I think if it's done in a really tactful, strategic and humanized way, we can really create new experiences that create new benchmarks for the industry as a whole. So that's always been one of our goals here at True, and just me in general. I think the real estate industry has a lot of catching up to do, which is why I love forward-thinking companies like Propy. And I don't mean to plug you, but I just love what you guys are doing, because you guys are really kind of tapping in to that same harmony that we want to create.
Yeah, and I think the latest report is 6 million homes in the last 12 months. What happens when we start tokenizing, utilizing NFTs and others, and the volume expands? without technology, what's the experience going to be like when the existing real estate professionals will not be able to handle a 50% increase in volume?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, technology is a tool that should allow the human to do more, right? It should not substitute, it doesn't necessarily need to substitute the human experience, but a good technology provider does bridge that gap, right? It's about allowing us to do more of what's important, which, in my opinion, as a realtor, what's important to them is building relationships, is, being available to answer questions, like really being able to build a relationship with people and not have to worry about, did this paperwork get signed, did all this. Like, they need to do that, but that's where technology can come in and really allow you to amplify your efforts.
So basically, technology can automate the mundane tasks and allow you to use your skill set at what you're best in doing.
Yes, that's the idea. That's the idea. Is there a task that's replicatable that you could have, that anyone could do? There's no qualification needed for it, right? Like sending an email or getting something signed. There's no any human could do that. My 8-year-old could do that. But does that mean that a human needs to do it? And does it diminish the experience? I think that consumers really care about the relationship and the fact that the agent cares. Like, we don't talk about the fiduciary right that much anymore. Like, the fiduciary right isn't just about protecting their financial best interest, but it's really being an advocate for the consumer. And you can't do that if you're bogged down. God forbid you're still using faxes or spreadsheets, right? Like, you can't really tap into that.
All right. Hey, with that spreadsheet, folks, next week I'll have Jonathan Peterson from T360. It's one of our industry consulting firms. They just did a survey on offer management, and I'm not gonna give you the exact number because you got to come back next week to see the report he'll share with us. But there is a high percentage of agents in the U.S. that are still printing out agreements to compare, that are still retyping everything on a spreadsheet. And folks, if you're not aware of it, that is a little cumbersome. And how most errors come from someone trying to retype something when there's no need for it, because that's already can be automated. All right. So what does True do as far as technology and conveying technologies to increase agent experience? How do you how do you get them adopted?
Yeah, adoption is always fun, right? It's like internally we find some really awesome technology we know is going to help benefit them, but then it's like, how do we convey that and get them to actually use it? I think that there's a lot of answers to that, and I'll try to cut to the core. I think that if we can show them through real life experience and practical application that this tool will allow them to do more and ultimately help them achieve their goals, they're more open-minded to adopting technology. I think that this idea of like an agent that's kind of set in your ways, like if you're so concrete and so hard that you're not willing to look at what could possibly be better, that's not necessarily the kind of agent that we want to align with, right? We know that this industry is evolving, that the consumer experience is evolving, technology is evolving, and we need to be agile enough to at least explore and see if the possibilities are there. So specifically, how do we, get agents to adopt? I think that with a good technology partner, there should be good CSMs or customer success managers on the technology partner side. So for you guys come in, you provide a tremendous amount of education and support. You do webinars, you do training. That's extremely helpful for agent adoption, because we could tell them until we're blue in the face that this is an incredible technology that will help you do more with less time. But until they see it and experience it, which sometimes we can't do as an organization, we rely on our technology partners to provide that education and show that experience. That helps a lot. And consistency, right? Absolute consistency. Now, one other thing that we've done, Sarah, I don't say we, but Sarah specifically, is she's aligned with a handful of technology partners. And what we built is an actual technology stack. And we use this tech stack in language when we are recruiting and when we're letting agents know that we're opening up opportunities for them to sign up, that you get this incredible technology stack and what that includes. So I think a lot of the agents who are aligned with us because of the way we position True, they align with us because we are technology forward thinking. They align with us because they look for the latest tech that Sarah is piloting, right? And they want to know what's going on. So for us, we've actually used that as a value proposition to attract the type of agents that we want to work with. You know, I think that that's important. If you're a broker that serves everyone and will take any agent, that's great. Some agents that works really well for. We want agents who value technology, who value the stack that we've put together because they understand that it's going to allow them to do more with less time. So
True's close to a couple hundred agents now and growing. Yeah, I mean, every time I look, I get notifications. Hey, I need more training. We just hired 5 more agents, or hey, there's 5 or 10 more agents joining next week.
We are growing and we are expanding. I can't talk about exactly where, but we are expanding into other states and are operating.
So let's talk about that. So if a brokerage wants to expand, then they certainly have to have a certain amount of technology in that stack just to be able to operationally do it.
Absolutely. And that's why having a national technology partner is equally as important as just a robust technology partner, right? Like, does their technology work in other states? Is it something that is scalable, that fits the demand and the goals that we have as a brokerage? It's absolutely critical. We have to be partnering with companies that can scale like that with us, alongside us.
All right, I just came up with this game, folks. I don't know if it's gonna fly or completely flop. So let's go over some of the biggest challenges over the last 6 months that agents have reported to where you went out and find a solution, a tech solution to solve a problem. So let's say an investment buyer wants to come in, they want to buy hundreds of homes. How do they submit offers, to multiple properties in a quick amount of time? Is there a solution out there?
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's interesting. You mentioned that. Like, that's one of the first things that came to mind actually was managing offers, because lately with inventory being so tight here in Arizona, when a house gets listed, they'll have 20 offers in the first 24 hours. And it has been a challenge for agents. And I'm always curious, hey, agent, how are you submitting these offers to your seller? How are you organizing this in a meaningful way for them to synthesize what offers are good, what offers are bad? Is there a platform that allows the seller and the agent to communicate on, yes, I like this offer. Hey, let's counter offer this. Like, can we create a really awesome experience for people, or are we sending them 25 PDFs in 24 hours, expecting them to read the fine print, right? That's like, it's so archaic, but there are software solutions out there that do just that.
And the offer management category we'll cover on the analyst show next week, because Showing Time has an offer management, Brokerman claim, they have their version of something offers. Everyone has something a little different. So we tried taking an approach working with T360 to outline what does a category look like, because it came prevalent during this summer when I've had customers of ours with 97 offers coming in. And folks, if you think you can print 97 offers, your dining room table is not big enough for you to manage that in a timely manner. You can do it, but what happens to the buyer and seller experience in that process, right? It gets lost, right? And even utilizing a CRM, which I know you guys have one, right? Most of the sales training goes out there, hey, communicating with your customers post-sale. I read a report from NAR, 70% of homeowners would like to use the agent on the next time they buy or sell, but very few percentages do not. Mm-hmm. And so there's a misalignment of not using technology that available. So is that come from the brokerage not going out and finding it and having it ready for the agent, or is it communicating it to the agent of what's available to them?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I do think that a broker's responsibility is to provide education and training. And if your broker doesn't do that, then I would question whether or not they genuinely care about you as an agent and your goals, and if they're the type of broker you want to align with. So I do think that there's a certain amount of education that every broker is responsible to have to their agent. It's their fiduciary right to their agent to make sure that they have the resources available to them. Now, having an agent who has willingness and hustle, that's something that we can only, it's like the you can lead the horse to water, right? Kind of situation. You again, it goes into like, we use this as a positioning, as a value proposition, as a recruiting mechanism to come and align with us, right? And to join our community, our brokerage. I think that it's tough to expect agents to do certain things, but if you recruit them through the right channels and properly, then you're aligning with, you're creating your own network of the type of like-minded people that you want to be with. It's like, I'm not friends with just everybody, right? Like my friends, we connect, we share common interests, we have common values, right? And these values are important for us in my personal network. It's the same with business, right? Like, are we attracting anyone and everyone with a pulse just because they can refer us more agents, or are we attracting people who care about the consumer experience, who are actually doing deals, who want to adopt emerging technology, who want to learn, who want to grow, who want to evolve as individuals? Those are the types of people that we want to work with. So we attract them, and therefore it solves a lot of the problems and the challenges I think we're talking about. Is like, how do we get technology adoption? Well, we attract people who are like-minded, right? How do we get people to go through the training? Well, we attract people who want to learn, who have that beginner mindset and are curious about what's coming and what's next. So I think that what you are attracting is kind of the answer to that. And I know that's not a very tangible answer, but it is
actually it is, and I'm kind of laughing inside. Can you guys see it? It reminds me of a question my daughter asked, when you're trying to decide what college or university to go to. There's 3,000 colleges and university. At the end of the day, there's a place for everyone. So agents, find the place that best matches your style of work. That's not to say one's better than the other. It depends what you like, what you can handle, what motivates you, where you feel at home. Because at the end of the day, it's where you're going to feel comfortable performing and wanting to go into work, right? And in this case, let's talk a little bit more about from the industry standpoint. I'm seeing a lot of agents jumping on, and we can talk a little bit about where the market's going, where technology goes with incorporation of blockchain. I know lenders are now starting to get involved with blockchain. The amount of title and escrow, folks, and if you listen to our webinar, even 6 months ago, our biggest challenge to do a crypto deal for a residential real estate has been the number of escrows. Well, right now, there are more and more escrow companies coming on board, title and escrow companies that understand how to facilitate a crypto buyer. And if you have a crypto buyer and you're an agent watching, just email joe@propy.com and I'll help you guys find you the right ecosystem from which to operate, because it is certainly capable out there. But where out in the real estate do you think is not up to par as far as technology that's not making that consumer experience or agent experience? And I don't want to isolate MLSs here, but we can.
Are you leading the witness? Yeah. Well, I mean, sure. Let's talk about MLSs specifically. I'm really sorry if any of you guys are, an owner of an association or an MLS, but I think it's a total racket and a monopoly personally. And I try to explain to agents, I really wish that there was a solution out there that overcame this monopoly. And I explained to agents that you do that if you go and you market, let's say you do a mail blast, you do a farming campaign, you spend thousands of dollars trying to acquire your own listing. Okay, you finally get a listing, you go and you do the presentation, you do all this work, and you have all this money associated to acquiring this new customer. You then take all this information and you have to upload it to a system, an MLS, right? So we, the agents and the people who are working hard to get this listing are feeding data to this warehouse, this old archaic system. It's not even like a really like sexy and intelligent system. It's like an old system, and you're putting this information in there. And then what that company does, that association, they sell it back to you to share that information in hopes that you will find a buyer. So like it's a very backwards system, and it hasn't been changed. But I think that there are fundamental issues that are way beyond that process that will prevent, that are like kind of roadblocks and barriers for that change and that evolution to occur. I think just it's the same thing with like car manufacturers, right? Like we have the ability now to purchase an all electric car. So why aren't all cars electric? Well, because people are getting paid through the gas and oil companies, right? They need that ecosystem to continue thriving. So I think that, I don't want to get into conspiracy or anything, but I think that there's a lot of government reasons and there's a lot of depth to why that hasn't changed. And people who are deep pocketed don't want that to change. Even though it's better for the consumer, it's better for the agent, it's better for the industry. They don't want to miss out on all that, monetization, because they have really cornered this market. And again, the technology isn't even par. It's horrible, right? It's horrible tech. So I guess if you're going to screw us, at least give us a better technology experience while doing it. I mean, we give them enough money, right? Sorry,
Well,
again, I know this is a touchy subject. Some people don't like this, but I'm not an agent. So I'd be happy to say I think that MLSs are a total racket and monopoly. And that's one thing that should change immediately. The agents, they're the ones who own the data. They're the ones who farmed that data. They paid for that data. They sat in the listing presentation and acquired it. They should be the ones who decide who gets to see that data, not anyone else. And no one should sell it back to them. So sorry, that's my
well,
rant
now
today.
we can kick in that. I mean, that's why real estate has a lot of associations, right? Let's face it. And that's predominantly because we're people.
Yep.
But I will give a behalf. There are some MLSs that I've been speaking to in the last 90 days that absolutely get it. They absolutely understand it's the agent's data. They absolutely are taking a finer look at how to control the data to the benefit of the agent. But with any technology, how far can they go and how quick can they go, right? But I think there are, and I know there's at least a handful that I've spoken to that are making changes to update the technology from within the realm that they're trying to do and trying to make it change. Now, a lot of it is because MLSs have to show value to the agent, right?
Yep.
If not, what happens? You're going to have another taxi cab Uber situation, because eventually all the data is going to be online somewhere. Everything is going digital. And once everything goes digital, it becomes easily accessible. Now, when it's easily accessible, then disruption is going to occur. So
Yep.
either make the change or wait for the fallout.
Yeah, I think we would also need a tremendous amount of adoption from agents across the country to say we're all going to upload our data to this decentralized storage space. I'll just throw out a couple keywords there. Like we have the technology, we have the ability to do it. We just need the collective consciousness to see the future and where it could go and how it could ultimately benefit everybody. The only people who are not getting benefited are the people who own the associations. They're losing out on the opportunity, but it's their fault for not evolving.
Well, I think with that, people are forced to evolve, right? I mean, let's look at the crypto world, and many of you watching understand the crypto. We had wallets, and then all of a sudden it's completely decentralized. But because some of us always forget our password, a little skeptical, so we tend to go with a Coinbase that can remember my password. Okay, not 100% decentralized, but we'll give up a little bit of freedom because there's value in remembering the password. So I think even there are rooms for some mediaries if the value is there. And the only way the value is going to be there when everything's digitized is to improve archaic. Recognize one, do you have an archaic system? If you don't even recognize that, I think you're already lost.
Yeah, I think that the two, like, stop trying to monetize more on the agent. Like, the agent's already dealing with commission compression on a whole new level, right? So then you've got associations that are just monetizing off of the agent. Like, there's other ways for them to monetize. There's other ways for them to provide value that doesn't hurt the agent and the consumer experience. And I think that, anyone who could sit down in a whiteboard in a strategy session could come up with 5 other ways to monetize than their existing kind of strategy.
And I think we all have to add, and so if any of you agents out there have good friend at an MLS that is a tech leading, I'll try to have one on in November here as we get in closer to the year, and then they have a little bit better idea as to what the 2022 outlook's looking like for their MLS improvements, and we'll hear from some MLSs.
Yeah, and I don't want to come off as like the hater of all MLSs. I just think, when we talk about what tech is the furthest behind, it's the one that really does stand out probably the most.
And that's the one that will need to be addressed. Also, for you crypto enthusiasts and blockchain enthusiasts or agents that want to understand better what crypto and blockchain is, Propy does offer a crypto certified agent course. And I know, Aaron, your whole brokerages will be going through the course.
Mm-hmm.
Propy.com, Propy.com. Under product, look at the third item, crypto certified agent course. Go ahead and take a look at the course. And if it's right for you, go ahead and sign up. If you have any questions, just let us know. I do want to call out next week. We do have Jonathan Peterson from T360 will share with us the offer management industry survey. On October 13th, we'll have Teresa Kennedy, Keller Williams agent. We're going to talk about advancing affordable housing and home ownership with blockchain technology. And then we'll move into some top team conversations. And on October 20th, Asher Cohen at Your True Realty, we'll have a discussion on how high performing teams use technology. So we've heard from the technologists at the brokerage level. October 20th, we're going to talk to one of the top performing teams on how teams incorporate the brokerage's technology and for the agents within. And we'll also continue some technology talk on the 27th with Doug Geek, VP of Production at 8Z in Colorado, and see what's going on with the Colorado market and update. We're approaching at the end here. I want to thank you all for joining this week's weekly webinar. Aaron, any final words?
No, listen, I just want to say thank you for having me on. And again, this isn't, no one's paying me to say this, but I really do appreciate the advancements that Propy is trying to make for our industry as a whole. I think that, like you said when you introduced me, I'm a lifelong student and a lifelong learner, and I've learned a lot from your content, from following your guys' page. It's an inspiration. So thank you for everything that you do for us, for the community, for the crypto community. I just think that these conversations are really needed, and I appreciate you facilitating them.
I appreciate it. And because my boss just gave me a new KPI, folks, I need you to go to Propy's Instagram and follow us. Follow us on Facebook, and go to my LinkedIn page, Joe Badelli at Propy, and go ahead and connect with me if you want any other chats or how we can help, or if you have a good guest for us, future episodes. Aaron, I appreciate it. Thank you. You've been awesome. Good luck to you.
Thank you, Joe.
And folks, thank you for joining us today. Have a good day.